Chapter 8. Josh, Ruth Rose, Casey, and Marshall all tried to back out of the cave at the same time. They tripped over each other's feet as they tried to escape. The snowmobile's headlights created frantic shadows on the snow. Dink was knocked to the ground. He felt Josh crawling over him. Then he heard a bark. Were they being attacked by wolves? Natasha! Casey cried. Dink sat up. Natasha was lying on top of Casey, covering her face with kisses. The dog's red sweater was caked with ice and snow. As the kids watched, Natasha stopped licking Casey's face. The dog whimpered, then rolled over into the snow. Something's the matter with her, Marshall said. The man and woman climbed off their snowmobiles. Dink realized that they were not Ace and Joe after all. The man was too short for one thing. His voice sounded young when he said, "Your dog is awesome. She led us here from a mile away." He was wearing some kind of padded snowsuit that zipped up the front. Ski goggles and a helmet covered most of his face. Only his eyes showed. Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose were kneeling in the snow next to Natasha, who wasn't moving. Casey was stroking Natasha's icy fur and whispering in her ear. "What's wrong with her?" "Probably hypothermia," the woman said. She was dressed like the man in ski goggles and a helmet. "I'm Lauren, and this is my brother, Tinker." "Hypothermia can be pretty bad," her brother said. "One of my buddies got lost in the snow last year. It was real cold, and he stayed out way too long. When he didn't come home, his folks called the cops. They found him asleep in a snowbank. His face was blue, and his temperature was way down. He almost died." "Oh, no," Casey cried. "Don't worry. We'll get your dog to our house. Mom knows a lot about animals. It'll be cool. Let's load her up on my snowmobile." "We can take you all, but you'll have to sit on top of each other." "What are you kids doing out here anyway?" "It's a long story." "Cool, but tell us later. Let's hit the road." Dink and Casey wrapped Natasha in one of their packing blankets. Tinker carried the bundle to his snowmobile and held her on his lap. Dink, Josh, and Casey scrunched together into the passenger section behind Tinker's seat. Marshall and Ruth Rose climbed on the other snowmobile behind Lauren. In moments, they were skimming over the snowy road. Dink's eyes blurred as they whipped past trees and snow-covered fields. The moonlight made everything seem like a dream. 10 minutes later, Tinker aimed his snowmobile up a long, plowed driveway. At the end sat a small house. Dink smelled smoke from the chimney. Lights were on, glowing through the windows. Tinker and Lauren parked their snowmobiles near the porch, and the kids jumped off. Tinker carried Natasha up the snowy front steps. A Christmas wreath hung on the door. Lauren opened the door and everyone clattered in. "Boots off, you two," a voice called from another room. And you said you'd be home by 11. Tinker kicked out of his boots, then laid Natasha on a rug in front of the fireplace. 4 stockings hung from the mantel. In the fireplace itself, a small wood fire crackled. Dink noticed a Christmas tree in one corner with a few wrapped presents arranged on a red cloth. "Mom, I have a surprise for you," Tinker yelled. A tall woman stepped into the room. She was wearing jeans and a sweatshirt with a parrot on the front. She stopped when she saw 5 strange kids dripping snow onto her rug. "Usually he brings me baby squirrels or orphan birds. Who do we have here?" The 5 wet, cold kids introduced themselves. "We found them in a snowbank. Their dog led us right to them." "What dog?" Lauren pointed to the blanket. Her mom knelt by the dog, carefully unwrapped the blanket. She forced Natasha's eyes open and then her mouth. "Lauren and Tinker, find some dry clothes for your friends." Lauren followed her brother. "Will she be all right?" "Yes, sweetie. Your dog's just exhausted and very cold. We'll have her fixed up in a jiffy." "Lordy, you all look like you've been through a war." "We got kidnapped," Marshall said. "Wait, we want to hear," Tinker told him. He rushed into the room with an armful of sweatpants. Lauren was right behind him. She dropped a pile of sweatshirts on the sofa. "Okay, you kids all get into warm stuff now. Lauren, why don't you make a pot of hot chocolate? Tinker, we need more firewood." Miss, I'm Molly Makepeace," the woman said. "Miss Makepeace, could we make a couple of phone calls? Our parents don't know where we are." "Sure, sweetie. Use the phone in the kitchen." The 5 kids quickly pulled on 2 large sweatpants and sweatshirts. Dink and Casey went to the kitchen to find the phone. "You first," Dink said. Everyone was gathered around Natasha, who was sitting up and licking faces. Casey stepped into the room with the phone. My stepfather wants to know what town we're in." "Tell him Maple Crossing, Virginia. We're number 15 Fox Run Drive." Casey repeated the address into the phone and then listened for a reply. "He wants to know if there's a place to land a helicopter." Your dad has a helicopter, Dink said. There's a big field behind the house, plenty of room to land there. Tell him we'll have lights on. They'll be here in half an hour. He promised to call your father at the hotel, Casey told Dink. And your parents are at the White House already, Marshall. Dink smiled. He could just see his dad chatting with the president. White House? Kidnap? Molly Makepeace said. What's going on here? Well, the president is, Casey started to say. Wait, the hot chocolate. Don't say anything till I get back. Soon they all had mugs of hot chocolate. Natasha was sitting up against Casey's knees. Okay, kids, tell us how you know the president. He's my stepfather, Casey said. Last year, he and my mom fell in love and got married. So you live in the White House? Yep. And you got kidnapped, all 5 of you? The kids kept interrupting each other as they told the whole story. Natasha perked up her ears when they got to the part about her being locked in the crate. When they were finished, Molly and the 2 teenagers just stared. That's the most amazing story I ever heard. And you managed to get away from that man and woman? Do you know who they are? Her name is Josephine Payne. I found papers in her glove compartment, and I heard her call him Ace. I think the guy lives near you. Ace Boyd. He's a total wacko. He and my dad got in a big fight when Ace tried to shoot some wild turkeys on our property. You know him? Everybody around here knows Ace Boyd, but no one wants to know him. He manages to make enemies wherever he sets foot. I've seen him throwing his trash in our field. Ace Boyd belongs in jail. I guess he and Joe Payne planned to kidnap Natasha when Joe was hanging wreaths in the White House. Yeah, and we went along for the ride. That's the last time I do anything nice for you, Natasha, Josh said, giving her a big kiss on the head. How did you find her? Marshall asked. Dude, your dog found us. Lauren and I were out doing some night snowmobiling. It got too windy, so we decided to come back here. Next thing I know, this thing all covered in ice jumps in front of me. I almost fell off my snowmobile. I thought it was a grizzly bear come to eat me. She barked at us and kept backing away like she was trying to say something. Finally, we just followed her until we saw you guys. You're my heroine, Casey said. I'm going to make you some Christmas doggy cookies. Speaking of eating, when is the last time you 5 had a meal? Yesterday, Josh said. We ate around 2:00 in the afternoon, but our friend Josh is like a baby bird. He has to eat every 5 minutes. How do soup and sandwiches sound? And blueberry pie. Can I come live with you guys?